Hey everybody, it's Ken. I'm here with Lesley Brice.
Hi, Ken.
She's our partner and principal and CEO and president of our company. And so this is a video on how we educate our employees. And I think this is our why. So we do annual book studies. So back when we first started the company, we used to do these, NOI and occupancy, and this is what the company's vision is and all that kind of stuff. The normal, really boring stuff that employees go to, right?
For the meetings, the
super
year-end
boring,
meetings.
super boring. And then what we decided to do is we said, well, why don't we just teach personal development to some of our employees? And it changed our culture, right? When you say?
Well, it's huge. Yeah. Getting all of our leadership together in one room. First of all, that's a feat in and of itself.
Yeah, it was 100 and some people, all the management. And they fly in from all over the country. And we do a 2-day event. And we do an annual book study. And honestly, it's now turned in, I was a little nervous in the beginning, but it's turned into the event. Right?
For sure.
Well, I didn't know. Because I study books, I read books, I study them. I do book studies with people, but I'd never done one for 100 plus people, especially in my own company.
Oh, you did great.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
So the first one that we did was Turning Pro. By the way, these books here: Turning Pro, Tribal Leadership, 11 Rings, The Power of Habit, The Happiness Advantage, the Simple Truths of Service, and Ego is Your Enemy. These all constitute 1 year. So we buy the books, we sell them to everybody, or we send them to everybody, sell them. And so all the employees are expected to read this book, and then we study it, right?
We do. We do. We take a long time to study it, and we live it through the rest of the next year.
So we're going to talk in another video later about how we do this, because the facilitation, the 2 days and what we go into is super important. We can talk to you guys if you guys have this idea. You want to do it individually in your own family, or maybe in your own company, or maybe with some of your employees. But the level of trust and the level of engagement that we have inside of our company when we do these, when you want to just talk a little about that?
Oh, well, it's huge. I think going back to what you said earlier about this not being a meeting about the numbers or about what the company plans are, this is self-development. This is personal development for team members. And many of them have never had an opportunity to be mentored in that way, or to have the focus on themselves. So usually when you come to an event like that, you expect to hear more about the company and spend all that time discussing plans. But when you start to look inward, these folks appreciate having the time out for themselves.
Yeah. So what happened was, when we first started with this book, we thought we had a really good company. We thought we had a really good culture. We did. And we actually did, I think. But what's happened is, as we've gone from Turning Pro all the way down to Ego is the Enemy, which is the book we just did, our culture's changed a lot. And so what's happened is our turnover's gone way down. And now our employees believe, and it's true, that we have a vested interest in them. It's a massive difference. In other words, a lot of time companies stand up on stage and they talk about, these are the goals that we want, and by the way, you're going to fit in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's so important, because not only do they feel invested in personally, they feel a sense of obligation or empowerment to do the same thing for their teams. We have multiple properties throughout the United States, and they're their own little microcosms. So
they are, and they all come here, and they all have different aha moments while they're here. And what's really cool is, you can imagine, we have 50 maintenance guys show up for this event, literally maintenance supervisors, and they're a lot of times have had no personal development. Some have, but a lot of them haven't. And so in some cases, this is all brand new, but now they're like the most interactive.
They're the leaders in the room.
Right, they're the leaders in the room now. It's so cool to see. And it's just because we're all studying the exact same thing, the exact same sentence together, and we're talking about, what does it mean, right?
Right.
And so for us, what has happened, and this was never strategic, let's talk about some of the awards that we've gotten in our company.
Oh, right. Best companies.
Best company in Arizona.
Arizona, 4 years running.
4 years running. The only real estate company on a list of 150.
At least, yeah.
150, the only one. What were we, 9th in the nation?
For a multifamily, best multifamily company, which is all multifamily companies, but it's across the nation.
In the nation.
And so we've been placing in that for the last 4 years as well.
All by surveys from our employees.
Right.
So the employees fill out these surveys, and we have to have, 50% engagement?
45.
45% engagement.
Yeah.
So in other words, of our few hundred employees, we have to have at least 150 fill out a survey. And so they get to fill it out however they want, and then they rank you based on that. And so now that's awesome. Trust me, to have that, but it was never the reason. We were never trying to get awards. We just did. And the reason we got them was because we are trying to help our employees develop themselves, whether they stay with us or not. Right?
Absolutely. We're invested in them and not what they can do for us per se. That's a byproduct of what happens.
It is a byproduct. So if you're not doing it, I would encourage you guys just to pick up a book, read it, study it with somebody else. Just, it can start with just one other person and just have them read a book and then sit down and talk about it over a beer or over dinner or whatever. I'm telling you what, people's perspectives change when you're studying something together, right?
Oh, right. Reading it out loud to each other and then discussing what you just learned.
It's awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And so anyway, I'm not sure what our next book's going to be, but we'll definitely highlight it for you. But also in the next video that we're going to do behind as a premium is we're going to actually tell you about some of the very specific things inside of these books that we've actually taken and adopted. Some have actually come from the employees themselves, and some have come from corporate, but all collaboratively, right?
Yep.
And so some of the things inside of here have changed our company for the better, and we're going to go into that a lot more detail on a later video. So thanks for watching.